توجه. این برنامه شامل صحنه‌هایی است که ممکن است برای همه مناسب نباشد.
ملک شما قلمرو شماست.
They loved their house on the hill. It was kind of like their own little kingdom.
از آن مانند زندگی خود محافظت می‌کنید.
I would call it a feud. Everything that the other did angered his neighbor.
It can happen anywhere, to anybody.
برایش می‌جنگید. و حتی گاهی برای آن آدم می‌کشید. همسایه ها. مردم تمام زندگی خود را در جستجوی چنین جایی می‌گذرانند.
It's rural, very attractive area, nice homes of professional people.
Carmel Valley is very close-knit. People know each other there because it is so small.
شهر ما یک شهر خاص است، اما اگر خوششانس باشید می‌توانید بالای تپه‌ها زندگی کنید.
It was pretty spectacular, the views from Carmel Valley. It was very beautiful.
مل گرایمز در سال 1988 به اینجا نقل مکان کرد. علاقه زیادی به موج سواری دارد و دونده ماراتون است.
Mel was just a really nice guy, always happy, never had anything negative to say about anybody.
Just a really fun guy to hang out with. But at the same time, just really mellow. He just kind of did his own thing and I really dug him.
این طرفدار ورزش خوشگذران همچنین وکیل مدافع درجه‌ای که سرسختی است.
He was very highly regarded in our community. He was very able. He was a strong litigator, a worthy adversary.
Give him a break. He deserves a break.
سالها پیش مل شریک زندگی خود را پیدا کرد، الیزابت.
My mom was a nurse. She was working at the office next door to his. He asked her out on a date one day. My mom said yes, and then from that point on, it was just they really were into each other.
I always found her to be an extremely generous person. She just took Mel's friends in like we were family. You just sit down on the floor and listen to music and talk about old times, and it was just great. It was really comfortable and fun.
Honey?
They were inseparable. I would almost say out of any couple that I know, I think they were perfectly right with each other.
هر دو مطلقه هستند، اما این بار متفاوت بود. الیزابت به خانه میل در بالای تپه نقل مکان کرد و در سال 1995 با هم ازدواج کردند. آنها در زندگی خوشبخت شده بودند. اما تضاد مردم را تغییر می‌دهد. برای بدتر شدن. در سال 1999 فرد جدیدی به خانه در همسایگی آنها نقل مکان کرد. جان کنی فرد بسیار تحسین برانگیزی بود. کهنه سرباز جنگ کره و دارای مدرک دکتر از دانشگاه MIT. به عنوان یک مشاور عالی در صنعت نفت به سرتاسر جهان سفر می‌کند. دوستانش به او جک می‌گویند.
Jack was extremely clever and very well read, and he was blessed with an almost perfect memory. So if you wanted to take him on in an argument, you better have all your facts. He wasn't really interested in a half-baked opinion. In company, he was very polite and friendly, especially towards women. He had this old-world patrician manner to him. He would stand up when a woman came into the room, for example.
همسر جان در فرانسه پزشک بود. شغل این دو باعث شده بود که جان از همسرش و دو دختر خوانده‌اش برای ماها دور بماند.
He lived alone in the house.
در نگاه اول همسایه ها نقاط اشتراکی چندانی با هم نداشتند. با این حال رابطه خوبی برقرار می کنند.
They were definitely friends. They would hang out and talk on the driveway. They were very neighborly.
There were times when he'd given Mrs. Grimes the key to his house because he was away for long periods.
از دیدن اینکه این دو همسایه به خوبی با هم کنار میآیند خوشحال بودیم و جان عضو جدید پذیرفته شده در این جامعه بود.
He went to Bible study with this group in Carmel Valley.
I went with him on a couple of occasions just out of interest. And there were 5 or 6 people around a table discussing the Bible. I could see how well respected Jack was in this group. He was very polite and they were all polite to him and they obviously held him in high regard.
همچنان که جان مستقر می شود دوستیشان بیشتر می شود.
Good dog. You enjoying that? Hey? Good.
The Grimes dog would go over to the Kenny property.
He would feed him and hang out with him.
John, how are you?
Oh, fine. How are you?
برای مدتی صلح در منطقه برقرار بود اما تفاوت‌های عمده میانشان آشکار شد.
Everything was neat and tidy around his house. He was an elderly gentleman. He didn't have a lot of stuff, so his yard wasn't cluttered.
My parents' house was definitely a little bit more, gosh, how could you say, decorated their own way. It was funky. It was almost like a little antique roadshow kind of garage. You would go in there and you would find the coolest things. And he would pick up random stuff from, you know, antique shops or vinyl records. I mean, my gosh, 50,000 vinyl albums in that house. My parents collected the weirdest stuff. But the thing was no one could see it except for him. And then you look down at his house and it was just, everything was perfect.
با گذشت ماها نیاز جان به نظم و ترتیب خودش را نشان می‌دهد.
Good afternoon, Elizabeth.
Hi, John. How are you?
Good. Say, where'd you get those plants? They're not aggressive, are they? I mean, I don't want them growing over in my property.
کم کم اما مطمئناً زندگی در کنار هم مخل آسایششان میشد.
Well, you get your dog digging a hole in my lawn here, nothing more than that. That's not so bad. Yeah, well, I gotta fix it.
They were such different people.
Here, take your dog home.
شاید سگ برای همسایه آزاردهنده بود اما خانواده گرایمز و جان کنی باید با هم کنار می آمدن. زیرا از یک ورودی خصوصی مشترک استفاده می کردند.
These kind of common driveways shared by multiple homes is very, very, very typical throughout Monterey County.
این مسیر مشترک به 2 ورودی پارکینگ منتهی می شد. یکی برای خانواده گرایمز و یکی برای کنی. فضا کم بود. مجبور بودند برای عبور از آن از ملک یکدیگر استفاده کنند. مسئله مهمی نبود. حداقل در ابتدا. مشکل اصلی پل چوبی کوچکی بود که بر روی یک نهر در پایین تپه قرار داشت. خانواده گرایمز و کنی برای رسیدن به منزل خود هر روز از روی آن پل عبور می‌کردند و این پل به تعمیر نیاز داشت.
It was old, it was falling apart. They wanted to tackle it before it just collapsed and then no one could get across.
Jack said to the Grimes, we need to get this bridge repaired. And Grimes said, I'll do it. And Jack said, what do you mean you'll do it? Mr. Grimes said, well, I'll repair it. It'll be much cheaper. We won't have to pay a contractor.
I mean, this is dangerous. You gotta...
Mel had a lot of clients that owed him, you know, money and couldn't pay, but they could pay in labor.
Oh, here you are.
Yeah, I got the whalers for you.
That's how Mel took care of it. He just, you know, all right, build a deck or do some yard work or, do some landscaping or help me move this or that.
اما جان کنی نمیخواست تعمیر این پل سرسری انجام شود. باید دقیق تعمیر میشد. در غیر این صورت ممکن بود ماشین از روی آن سقوط کند و به داخل نهر بیفتد.
So Jack went back to Grimes and said, we have to do this officially. And Grimes gave him the cold shoulder treatment.
جان قبول می کند اما ظاهراً بعد از مدتی از اینکه منتظر میل بماند خسته می شود.
Kenny took it upon himself to have an engineer come out.
Okay. Yeah. So, the whole thing, gone.
Drop the plans, get it going. He did all this on his own, had the work done, then basically handed a bill to my parents.
There you go. Well,
And my parents they didn't agree to that.
I could have got it done for half the price. I ain't gonna pay a penny.
زندگی بر روی این ارتفاع زیبا کم کم آزاردهنده میشد و کار به اینجا هم ختم نمیشد.
It got ugly.
Their little piece of paradise was being torn asunder.
I think that they each felt a mutual provocation. It just seemed to kind of snowball.
میل و الیزابت گرایمز بر سر یک قبض سنگین با همسایه خود جان کنی درگیر مشاجره شده بودند. جان پلی که هر دو از آن استفاده می‌کردند را تعمیر کرده بود و از خانواده گرایمز می‌خواست که سهم خود از هزینه‌ها را پرداخت کنند.
Kenny sued my parents for the portion that Kenny believed that they should have to pay for.
There was no doubt in Jack's mind that he was entitled to recover this money from Grimes.
دادگاه به نفع جان رای می‌دهد و حالا مشاجره بالا می‌گیرد.
I'll never forget my mom calling me in Santa Barbara going, Mel's pissed. Mel he's really fired up about this. And that's when things really started getting bad.
در همین زمان فرد دیگری نیست که در این ارتفاع زندگی میکرد با خانواده گرایمز دچار مشکل میشود. یکی از همسایه‌ها به نام استفان یانگ میگوید از زمین او برای دفع زباله به صورت غیرقانونی استفاده میکنند.
There were refrigerators in there with leaking refrigerant. There were oil cans leaking oil. And there's also a requirement in California that you can't take invasive weeds off one property and dump them on another. The Grimes, they don't care about the impact on other people. They chose to dump the stuff and all this waste on our land.
زمانی که یانگ از گرایمز میخواهد زباله ها را جمع کند اوضاع به خوبی پیش نمی رود.
The atmosphere turned very frosty very quickly and Mr. Grimes adopted a very strange attitude.
درست مانند پل هیچ کاری صورت نمیگیرد. یانگ یک شکایت رسمی برای مسئولان محیط زیست میفرستد و گرایمز در نهایت زباله ها را جمع آوری میکند، البته بخشی از اون رو.
In fact, he didn't get rid of it all. He left a lot of it on our land. He took away all the waste that was on his land, but managed to leave strategic bits on my land to punish me, you see. This was his idea. He didn't have to comply fully with the law. He could just do enough.
اما این مقدار پیروی از قانون دیگر برای همسایه نزدیک گرایمز قابل قبول نبود. جان کلی بالاخره از اینکه سگ آنها آزادانه در دنیای تمیز و مرتب او بگردد خسته شده بود.
Mr. Kinney complained that it would come over and mess on his property. I think that he even claimed that Mel and Elizabeth gathered dog refuse and threw it on his property.
They were forcing their dogs onto his land and onto my land to defecate. Completely unnecessary.
The dog used to go down to the house when everything was good with John, and he would feed him. So any dog, you feed a dog, it's going to come back.
Get off my property! Get your hands off my dog. Get on my lawn
He called animal control. Animal control would come up and be like, hey, your dog needs to be on a leash. They can't go over here. They got to keep him on your property.
Dog. All right, get back in there.
That really drove my mom nuts.
همسایه ها وقتی به خانواده گرایمز نگاه میکنن هرج و مرج میبینن، اما شاید مشکل اصلی وسواس او با نظم بیش از حد است.
I'd almost say insane, just how organized it was. I'll never forget, like, just looking at even, like, his wood pile. It was just like, whoa, this guy is, like, you know, he's got stages of wood piled up here, you know, by size.
نظم و هرج و مرج دوباره درگیر می شوند. این بار بر سر مسیر ورودی مشترکشان.
Because of how the driveway was set up, you would have to back down my parents' driveway and then back up his to go back down the rest of the driveway. And, you know, I had been doing that before he'd moved in and was never an issue.
Kenny decided, as this dispute escalated, this feud, to really draw a line in the dirt. He wanted to assert what he believed to be his property rights.
Worked out really well.
Hey, don't want you guys driving this property line here, okay?
Why?
What are you talking about? Oh, come on.
And he's like, that's my piece of dirt. You can't back your van out over that.
You haven't done your research. This is my property, and I don't want you driving on it.
You have to understand, this piece of property was like the size of a surfboard. It was very tiny.
Why don't you talk to me like that again?
نقشه بردار می آورد تا محدود متر را مشخص کند. اما این کار کمکی به برقراری صلح و آرامش نمی کند.
And then it started to get worse. I would get phone calls from my mom, you know, upset, just not herself, voice sounds different, stressful.
گرایمز به شیوه خود پاسخ می دهد.
They had a, like, no trespassers signs made up, and they stuck them on every post on the fence line that was between Jack's land and their land. Now, it only faced Jack's property. This is directly in Jack's face, no trespassing. It's just a bizarre thing to do. This has to be a very aggressive person.
Mr. Kenny felt that they were provoking him.
He has no rhythm at all.
They would blare music. They would set speakers up in their front garden and blare music out, heavy rock music. Now, they're entitled to play music, but on and on and on, you begin to wonder, well, is this an aggravation or not?
I was right there.
بالا گرفتن تعارضات به شدت شخصی می شوند.
My mom had a meditation room built, and that thing was built without permits. The carport was built without permits. And once John Kenny started figuring out these structures were built illegally, then he started to turn my parents in to the county on those things. The whole neighborhood had illegal structures, you know, and he was strictly just focusing on my parents. He could have gone up and down that street and just been boom, 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 but it was all focused on them, and it was very upsetting to my mom and to Mel.
My name is Dr. John Franklin Kenny. I'm the nearest neighbor to Mr. Grimes. When a neighbor puts up some structure which damages your property or damages your enjoyment of it, when you come before the Planning Commission, excuse me, this is illegal, it's unpermitted, deny it.
اگر الیزابت نمیتواند از خلوتگاه شخصیش لذت ببرد، گرایمز کاری میکند که جان هم نتواند از خلوتگاه شخصیش لذت ببرد.
They reported him for a kind of a gazebo or a glass appurtenance to the back of his house that he used, and apparently he built that without a permit.
Mrs. Grimes, I thought we had an understanding. Get those plants off my property.
I don't think their home felt like home anymore. I think they were too fearful of Mr. Kenny.
I think they had an objective to get rid of him. I think they wanted him out of that house and to give up and move away.
و در این جنگ هر اتفاقی رخ می‌دهد.
He was out of control. He was red in the face and he was extremely angry. California's a weird place, and there are weird people everywhere. And you never know what your neighbor is underneath the surface.
اینجا باید بهشتی در کنار دریا می بود. اما برای برخی از همسایه ها کارمل ولی به جهنم تبدیل شده بود.
Mel Grimes would never back down to a bully. He was quite a guy, strong-willed, in my view, fearless.
The Grimes were bullies to anyone that opposed them. And, you know, some people you can bully and they'll back down and they'll be intimidated, but Jack wasn't that sort of a person. If you bullied him, it would make him more determined to stand up.
اما آیا او کسی بود که به زور وارد خانه همسایه شود تا آنها را بترساند؟
One of their pets was poisoned. A likely source was, at least in their mind, Mr. Kenny. He knew they both worked and were gone all day long, and the house was empty and never locked.
It's just ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. Out in that countryside, if you've got cats and they roam around, they're more than likely going to be killed. There are cougars out there, there are skunks, there are all sorts of things that eat cats. There was a claim that $10,000 had been taken out of the Grimes' property. They made the suggestion that he killed their cats and stole this money.
Mrs. Grimes was concerned that Mr. Kenny was not only an odd, weird person, but was also dangerous.
I remember telling my mom and Mel just one day, like, you know, why don't you guys move? But it was like, no, we were here first. They had no intentions of ever moving. And they were really adamant about staying.
آنچه اوضاع را بغرنج می‌کرد مسیر ورودی مشترک بود. مل گرایمز تصمیم می‌گیرد بخش کوچکی از آن را سیمان کند. اما جان کنی اینطور استدلال نمی‌کند.
In his scientific view of the law said that that little spit of land was his land and nobody else was supposed to touch it. And he expected and demanded that he was right.
درست مانند دعوا بر سر پل، این هم به نفع مل تمام نمی شود. بخش سیمانی می تواند در آنجا باقی بماند.
I see Mr. Grimes thumping this piece of concrete with his sledgehammer. And he was out of control. He was red in the face, and he was extremely angry.
Each dispute escalated into the next one. And each time that escalation happened, the feelings got harder and harder.
اما هیچ یک از این دو همسایه حاضر به کوتاه آمدن نبودند.
He needed to be in control of the situation, and I think that if he didn't want Mel and Elizabeth driving across this little sliver of land, that they should listen to him. It was his property in his mind.
In his mind, these people were trampling on his rights, his property rights, and that was not to be tolerated, and not something that he would tolerate.
کنی پس از اینکه در مبارزه بر سر تک زمین سیمانی برنده می شود، به سراغ مبارزه بزرگترش بر سر محدوده ملک در مسیر ورودی مشترک می رود.
He planted a garden on this dirt patch, and the dirt patch is, you know, it's about 10 feet long and, you know, a few feet wide. Planted this garden to stake out his right to this patch.
این باغچه باعث می شد که گرایمز نتوانند به پارکینگ بروند، یا حداقل جان اینطور فکر می کند.
Mel knew the law. He knew that you couldn't place something there to block Kenny from getting out of his driveway and vice versa.
Mel came home one day and saw the little garden there, and it blocked his access to his carport, and he just drove his car right over it and actually backed up and forth.
Totally destroying it. Proof again to Kenny that the Grimes could do whatever they wanted.
And Mr. Kinney came down the driveway in his car.
What are you doing?
And was taking photographs of Mel.
We're allowed to drive on there.
My mom lunged at him to pull the camera away from him.
There was a camera strap that was around Kenny's neck, and it pulled Kenny's head into the door jamb of the vehicle.
Elizabeth yanked the camera away from him with enough force that it actually broke the camera strap, according to Mr. Kinney.
When I took Kenny to the hospital, he looked like a 90-year-old man. He really did. He looked a wreck. He was frightened of everyone. It was disgraceful that someone should do this to this old man. To abuse him in this way, to bully him, and then to attack him in this way, and to break the lanyard of a camera. I mean, this is nylon. Nylon. Must have been huge force. And Jack said they tried to kill me. That's right. Those were his words. They've tried to kill me.
My mom, on her best day in heels, was maybe 5 feet tall, and this guy was well over 6 feet. I mean, it just seemed weird. It didn't seem like it added up. It's like, you did that, Mom? Like, there's no way. And she's like, yeah, he's full of it.
Yeah, take it in. Stop. I don't care.
It really just changed her whole perspective on the outlook of life and other people. It upset her. She would cry. She just didn't feel, she felt imprisoned at her own home.
بعضی از ما واقعا دلمان برای جان کنی میسوخت و بعضی دیگر هم به همان اندازه دلمان برای گرانز و آنچه که بر سرشان آمده بود میسوخت. هیچکس تصور نمی‌کرد که چه اتفاقی خواهد افتاد.
My mom went from my whole life telling me that, people are good, trust people, to people are evil, people are bad, watch out for them. I had no idea that it would ever escalate to something like this.
You don't mess with...
He knew that he was building this up in their lives, up to a breaking point where they were going to snap.
در شهر کوچک و آرام کارمل ولی در کالیفرنیا، مشاجری بر سر محدوده‌های ملک به سرعت از کنترل خارج می شود.
I just saw him shaking like this. I said, well, the police are going to come.
هر دو مشاجره و درگیری پیش آمده را به کلانتری گزارش می کنند، اما هیچ اتهامی ثابت نمی شود. یک شکایت معمولی بدون شواهد.
Kenny wanted a filing on the Grimes for battery, but I know it did not get filed by our office.
الیزابت می‌داند که جان به کدام کلیسا می‌رود. به همین دلیل نامی به پیشوای روحانی او می‌نویسد.
Dear Pastor Hong, I am the lady who called you a couple of weeks ago. I asked you if you might be able to offer us some counseling or mediation.
جان به این حرکت او پاسخ می‌دهد.
I am out of patience with your cowardly, gutter-mouth behavior.
I assume that this is not something Mr.
Personal
Kenny
behavior
wants
is
to do.
unacceptable by any standards of civilized
That you
conduct.
continue to keep us in your prayers.
از این نامه‌نگاری‌ها نتیجه حاصل نمی‌شود. الیزابت مسئله را عمومی می‌کند.
My mom probably just got an idea in her head, like, hey, I'm going to, church is a place where everybody gets together to get beyond things and work things out.
Prepare to know that it's going to happen to us every
John,
time.
we need to talk.
Hold
community knows what's going on. Look at us. Look at my finger. Look at your neck. Listen to me.
She did go there and interrupted a Bible study meeting. She asked for prayer for resolution, and according to Kenny, questioned his Christianity. How could he be at a Bible study class professing to be Christian when he was harassing her and her husband over such trivial things?
What kind of Christian are you that all you care about is your reputation?
It really upset Kenny because it put the spotlight on him at his place, and he didn't like that at all.
That's such an affront to a man in front of his friends and in a church. I mean, it was such an abuse of Jack, and I think that tore away the last shred of Jack's privacy. He thought to himself, I'm not safe anywhere.
و به نظر می رسد که خانواده گرایمز هم همینطور احساس می کنند.
Mel was very mellow about it, but I knew that it bothered him inside. He knew how to handle the stress that well. He had always taken care of everyone else's problems, but for himself, he didn't really know how to maintain his own stress. Finally, it had broke Mel. He developed an irregular heartbeat. Doctor was just like, your #1 killer right now is stress, and that's what's gonna give you a heart attack.
That's really, really bad. You have to help us. You have to do something.
حدود 2 هفته پس از ماجرای حضور الیزابت در کلیسا شنیدیم که هر دو طرف درخواست قرار منع کرده‌اند.
Wrong with him?
I thought they were going to come over here, but they didn't.
When you file that kind of request in California, there is a box on the form and a requirement that states whether you have guns. Mr. Kenny checked off the box, again under penalty of perjury, that he had no gun. Mr. and Mrs. Grimes had an old gun, not a functioning gun, that I believe they were using as somewhat of a decoration in their home. But they did turn in an old, unused gun.
اما قرار من چطور میتواند باعث آرامش شود زمانی که تا این حد نزدیک به هم زندگی میکنند؟
You have to stay away from your neighbor. You're going to pass them on the driveway. You're going to see them at the mailbox. You're going to bump into them.
اما کلمات روی کاغذ باعث نمیشد که گرایمز با ماشین خود از روی آن تکه زمین همسایه‌شان که ادعا میکرد فقط مال اوست عبور نکنند. و جان کنی هم حاضر نبود کوتاه بیاید.
Monday, January 29th, 2007. My mom was at that time working at a retirement home as a kind of a nurse aide in Carmel Valley. Mel was in Salinas doing his lawyer thing.
Unbeknownst to the Grimes who were at work, Mr. Kenny had a boulder delivered sometime during the day.
این تخت سنگ حدود ملکی کنی را مشخص میکرد و باعث میشد گرایمز نتوانند به پارکینگ خود بروند.
They had met at a restaurant in Carmel Valley, but because they came separate, they drove home separate, and that must have been right around like a 5 o'clock time. Kenny knew that putting that rock there was going to get a reaction out of Mel, and he was going to blow a fuse. drove up the driveway, and I would bet anything that as soon as Mel saw that rock, my mom just knew that he was going to lose it.
و اگر این همان چیزی بود که جان کنی به دنبالش بود، خواسته‌اش برآورده شده بود.
I had no idea it would ever turn to that at all, not in a million years.
Yes, it's an emergency. 82 Hitchcock Canyon Road. Our neighbors blocked our driveway.
تخت سنگ کاسه صبر مل گرایمز را لبریز کرد.
Please send somebody right away.
Okay, we're getting units started. Okay, where's the neighbor at?
He's in his house. Please hurry. No, don't touch it. Let the police come. Don't do that, Mel. Then I'll put it out.
سالها مشاجره و اتهامات تماماً در این لحظه خلاصه شدند و پایانی غم‌انگیز در انتظار آنها بود.
Please send someone.
Hello? Hello?
What he said indicates to me an intentional, violent, horrible, murderous act.
در شب 29 ژانویه سال 2007 صدای شلیک اسلحه در ارتفاعات کامل ولی شنیده شد.
The 911 dispatched. Emergency responders got to the scene.
آنها در محوطه بیرون پارکینگ خانواده گرایمز 2 قربانی را پیدا کردند.
Mel Grimes was already deceased on the ground by the rock.
به الیزابت گرایمز هم مانند همسرش شلیک شده بود، اما او هنوز زنده بود.
Paramedics were attending to Elizabeth, and they asked her who had done this to her.
My neighbor.
She was transported to a trauma center. Mr. Kinney was then taken into custody and arrested for homicide.
It was about 10 o'clock at night. I was at home, 8-week-old baby. My daughter was asleep. There's a knock on the door. And he's like, is your dad Mel? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, he's dead. And, I mean, as cold as that, he's just like, is your mom Elizabeth? And I'm like, yeah. And, well, she's dead too. And I fainted.
Unfortunately, she died en route to the hospital in the helicopter. She didn't make it.
I knew it was going bad. Did I know that my parents were going to get shot? No, not in a million years.
I was deeply shocked. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. How could this have got to this situation?
There was definitely a split in the community because the folks that went to John Kenny's church couldn't imagine that he would, at age 72, a man who'd never committed a crime in his life, there's no way he would have killed 2 people without reason.
جان کلی اظهار بیگناهی می‌کند. ادعا می‌کند که برای دفاع از خود پس از اینکه مل با پت به او حمله کرده بود به خانواده گرایمز شلیک کرده. اما شواهد و مدارک حقیقت تلخان شب را آشکار می‌کنند.
Ballistics and bullet trajectory showed what happened that day, and to see that Mr. Kenny's account of how Mel came at him with the sledgehammer or the shovel was not accurate.
در طی درگیری الیزابت هنوز پشت خط با پلیس در تماس بود. تمام رویدادها در حال ضبط شدن بودند.
He's blocked the driveway with what?
With a big, huge boulder.
We know that he came out of his house knowing that there'd be a confrontation. And we know that he walked down his driveway with a loaded .45 and had it concealed. He's pushing her. Get out of here. Yeah, moving her off the property. Mel sees this, and so Mel comes to her rescue. We hear Elizabeth say, "We know that Mel's DNA was found on the site of the gun." And the only explanation for that the first thing Kenny did was strike Mel across the face with the gun. That knocked Mel back, and then Kenny proceeded to shoot him.
اما او به همین بسنده نمی کند. سپس اسلحه را به سمت الیزابت نشانه می رود. در نوار ضبط شده از مکالمه تلفنی با پلیس، آخرین کلماتی که او و میل بر زبان آوردند شنیده می شود.
Hello? Hello?
One of the bullets that struck Elizabeth Grimes was very singular in the path that it left.
No, no!
In order for it to have left this trajectory, her body needed to be positioned in a certain way. The shot came from above at a very steep angle, with the person having their arm up like this, as if they were trying to protect themselves.
شواهد کاملا گویاست. جان کنی به الیزابت گرایمز شلیک کرد و او را کشت، در حالی که او بی‌دفاع به روی زمین افتاده بود. آنچه حتی از این هم وحشتناکتر است، آخرین کلماتی است که بسیاری میگویند در این تماس تلفنی با پلیس قابل شنیدن است و از زبان جان در حالی که بالای سر قربانیش ایستاده بود بیان شدند.
And he said, "Welcome to hell, Elizabeth," and then shot her in the back. Didn't realize that my mom had the phone with her, and she was on the phone with 911.
Hello? Hello?
And then he turned around and he walked back up to his house and he called 911 to report that he'd been battered by his neighbors. Didn't mention that he'd shot anybody.
The guy just had no remorse whatsoever. He felt that it was self-defense and he had every right to do it.
They found Kenny guilty of the first-degree murder of Elizabeth Grimes, meaning it was done with premeditation and deliberation and the intent to kill, and the second-degree murder of Mel Grimes. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
For a guy that's so controlling to be in a 5x8 cell with two other people that probably didn't get past third grade telling him how it's going to be, you know, that's the justice I was looking for. Because that's just a living hell for John, you know, for someone who's a control freak like that.
Knowing Jack Kenny the way I knew him, and thinking that this man has to spend the rest of his days in jail, it's a tragedy that adds nothing.
شاید بتوان گفت غم‌انگیزترین قسمت داستان کمی پس از قتل مشخص شد. ظاهراً میل و الیزابت قصد نقل مکان از آن خانه را داشتند.
Hey, Mel and Elizabeth, great news! The house in Hawaii that you've had your eye on, it's available.
When that real estate agent called me and said that, you know, I'd like to speak to Elizabeth, you know, the property that they're looking at is available, it caught me completely off guard. I was like, whoa, they were seriously gonna do it. I so wish my parents had moved. To find out that they were gonna move a little too late, it drives me nuts.
آنهایی که شاهد این کابوس بودند تنها به خاطر یک تسلی و دلگرمی بسیار کوچک خوشحالند.
My focus with my parents was they got to say they love each other and they died together, and that helps me get through that moment. Having my daughter helps me get through to the next day to, you know, to be a good man, to be a good person for her.